Hey, it's Terry again. Just wanted to take a little peek around here in the orchard here at the UVM farm. We've got some non-apple fruit trees that are blooming right now, and I just wanted to look over them a little bit so we could see some differences in flowering habit and structure. So let's take a peek. I'm standing next to a plum tree, and you can see that this particular tree is fruiting. You can see these blossoms on 1 year old wood. So you can see this shoot in my hand. You see the end of the shoot, and as we move down, you see that this is about where last year's growth ended. Same here. You can see that we're getting our blossoms on 1 year old wood. That's important because as the wood gets older, and you can see you don't have to go too far down that before we have really nothing else on here. So as the wood ages out, and especially on plums, as it gets out of the sunlight, you'll notice that sometimes the lower canopy, like this branch here, there's really not much of anything on it. You tend to lose the fruit bud formation decreases. Is that the way I should say it? And in fact, eventually this wood, like this branch here, will eventually just die out. So this is one reason why in a typical managed plum orchard, this is a fairly unmanaged one, you maintain an open center on your tree. We'll contrast that to this, which is a cherry tree, a sour cherry, Montmorency cherry. You notice that the 1 year old wood has no blossoms. The 2 year old wood has blossoms. So this is 1 year wood from last year, 2 year wood, and it's already starting to drop. So we have 2 and 3 year old wood, which is where the blossoms form. This is more similar to how apples form. They form their blossoms on 2 year old wood. In here we've got another plum. You can see 1 year old wood. This one's just about to start blooming. What else do we have here? We have another plum that's largely dead. I would even say it's completely dead by now. This was killed out from a few different things. It's got a tremendous amount of weed pressure on it and whatnot, but this in my hand, this kind of black sort of cancerous growth, this is black knot of plum, not black rot. Black rot is a disease that affects apples and a lot of other plants, but black knot is a fungal disease that affects plums and really is the main limiting factor for producing plums commercially in the Northeast. Another plum. You see we've got some cankers from where previous black knot infection. Not a particularly healthy plum. You can again see the flower buds on 1 year old wood clustered right up. If we were to crop this, and we'll crop it, crop it in the sense of we'll let it fruit and we'll take whatever it gives us. We would want to thin off these blossoms after the fruit set in order to get larger fruit. Another plum. This is a funny tree. I always am expecting this tree to just die out any given year because it's always covered in black knot, but yet it still keeps producing fairly young shoots that are, until they get the infection, they'll live for a few years at a time, and then eventually you'll choke out like most of this tree here is. And then we'll move down. Got a couple of dead peach trees. Finally, I'll move down to a pear tree. Now, pears are very similar to apples. They fruit on 2 year old wood. So you can see the 1 year shoot, no flower buds. Move further down into 2 and 3 year old wood, and we're starting to get blossom clusters. This pear has been around for quite a while. These trees are planted at the margin of some fields were planted by some students years ago and received minimal maintenance. For a while that used to bug me, and now I actually kind of like it because it gives me some trees that I can show off, some of the natural growth habit. The downside of that is sometimes we get these trees that have been unmanaged, and eventually things like these peaches just die out, mostly because of cold damage in this case. Here I am next to this peach tree that I thought was dead, but I'm actually seeing now there's a couple signs of life on it, like these fruit bud clusters. So these are, this will be blooming, early next week. It's just barely starting to bloom now. Today's Friday. Oh yeah, we've got some blooms coming in there. Peaches produce their fruit on 1 year wood. So you can see the 1 year right at the tip. That's obviously last year's wood. And into about 2 year wood. And then once it gets much older than 2 years, you pretty much lose your production. But actually all the wood on here that's producing flowers is last year's shoots, right? So this shoot grew last year. This is 2 year old wood here that doesn't have the fruit buds on it. So it was nice to come out here during bloom, catch things, and give me a chance to showcase some of the flowering habits of some non-apple fruit trees that you can grow in Vermont. Thanks.